Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, this is Govardhana Lila. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Govardhana Lila Mataji.
How are you today, Matajis?
We're fine. Yes, this is Jacqueline Mataji. How are you? Krishna is so happy that you are leading us.
Oh, it's not much today. It's these are beautiful stories, but there's no nectar really that I can give out of these. I can just tell you what they're about, basically. Okay, Matajis, I guess I should.
Govardhana Lila Mataji, Shanti Mataji, myself, and Jacqueline Mataji are on the call.
Oh, Hare Krishna, to all Matajis, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. How are you, Matajis?
Hare Krishna, we're so happy that we can begin class now.
Yes. Okay, so I guess I'll just start with the prayers. Anybody who would like to join, feel free to do that. Om Jnana Timirandasya Dhanananjana Shalakaya Shakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Padantikam Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Eva Cha Patitanam Avanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, so today, Matajis, we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 3. Actually, 3, 4, and 5. And 4 does not have a purport. So those are the verses for today. Okay. Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bubushaya Sham Gandharva Vritya Nishatam Sapagam Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna. Okay, translation. Attracted by the beauty and fortune of Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, many great princes and kings assembled to marry her. But Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Princess Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, was actually as attractive as fortune itself, because she was as valuable as gold, both in color and in value. Since the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the property of the Supreme Lord, Rukmini was actually meant for Lord Krishna. But Shishupal was selected as her bridegroom by Rukmini's elder brother, although King Bhishmaka wanted his daughter to be married to Krishna. Rukmini invited Krishna to take her away from the clutches of Shishupal. So when the bridegroom, Shishupal, came there with his party with the desire to marry Rukmini, Krishna all of a sudden swept her from the scene, stepping over the heads of all the princes there, just as Garuda carried away nectar from the hands of the demons. This incident will be clearly explained in the 10th canto. So I didn't have much time to do this, but I did listen just a little bit to Swami Ramapad Swami's take on this. And this was what I didn't understand at first. In this particular chapter, we're talking about the pastimes out of Vrindavan. And he said, you know, these particular pastimes, they're not just biographic, okay? These are stimulations of ecstatic love for Krishna. So this is not for the average, I don't know, jiva, okay? This is, you know, you have to have certain understanding to be able to appreciate these particular pastimes. And not only that, he said that they are done in chronological order. So you start with Krishna as, you know, very, very young, and then progressing onward, telling these particular pastimes. Now, another thing that I didn't realize, I was asking this yesterday about all of these particular demons, why all of a sudden we're seeing all these demons being killed by Krishna. And actually, when Kamsa was killed, the two wives of Kamsa were left, and it seems that they were very angry. There was a lot of vengeance okay, in their heart. So we see here a lot. That's what I understood as the explanation, because Krishna is out there having to kill a lot of demons, because there was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not antagonism. There's a lot of anger. Let's just say anger against Krishna for having killed Kamsa. Okay. Now, yeah, that was just a tiny bit of introduction, and that actually helped me to understand kind of how to place these verses. Just a minute, I'm trying to get my tablet to work. So we see here Rukmini's brother, who was, what's his name here? Rukmi, I think it is. The brother wanted her to marry, hold on just a minute, Shishupal, okay? And the father did not approve of that. So we have, he wanted, the father of Princess Rukmini, he wanted his daughter to marry Krishna. Okay, and so I went to the 10th canto, as does everybody, because it's explained a little bit more precisely in the 10th canto. So I'm just going to read a small section. I'm not going to read it all, but it does kind of explain the background, etc. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, verse 53, Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. After Lord Krishna had heard the Brahmana messenger recite Rukmini's letter, the Lord said to him, I am indeed attracted to Rukmini, and I know of her brother Rukmi's opposition to my marrying her. Therefore, I must kidnap her after crushing all the low-class kings, just as one might generate fire from wood by friction. Since the solemnizing of vows between Rukmini and Shishupal was scheduled to occur in only 3 days, Krishna had Daruka ready his chariot at once. Then he immediately set out for Vidarbha, which he reached after one night's travel. So, we see here that there's a lot of, he's got to kidnap her. And so then he has to vanquish all of these other low-class kings. Now, of course, King Bhishmaka was not low-class. Trapped by his affection for his son Rukmi, was prepared to give his daughter to Shishupal. Bhishmaka saw to all the necessary preparations. He had the city decorated in various ways and had its main roads and intersections thoroughly cleansed. Damagosha, the king of Chedi, having also done everything necessary to prepare for his son's marriage, arrived in Vidarbha. King Bhishmaka greeted him properly and gave him a place to stay. Many other kings, such as Jarasandha, Shalva, and Dantavakra, also came to witness the occasion. Now, these must be very low-class kings, because when I was listening just briefly, Ramapad Swami said that they had to try, I think 17 times or 18 times total, they had to try to capture Jarasandha. It was a very, they almost sound like demons to me, and I'm not going to say they're demons, but because it says they're kings here. These enemies of Krishna had conspired to kidnap the bride if Krishna came. They planned to fight him together and thus guarantee Shishupal his bride. Hearing of these plans, Lord Baladev gathered his entire army and quickly went to Kundinapura. So, no, maybe not demons, but these were enemies of Krishna, and somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but that's what it seems here. It says, on the night before the wedding, Rukmini, about to retire, had still not seen either the Brahmana or Krishna arrive. In anxiety, she cursed her bad fortune, but just then she felt her left side twitch, a good omen. This I did not know. Indeed, the Brahmana shortly appeared and related to her what Krishna had said, including his firm promise to kidnap her. When King Bhishmaka heard that Krishna and Balaram had arrived, he went out to greet them to the accompaniment of triumphant music. He worshipped the lords with various gifts and then designated residences for them. Thus the king showed due respect to the lords, as he did to each of his numerous royal guests. The people of Vidarbha, seeing Lord Krishna, remarked to one another that he alone would be a suitable husband for Rukmini. They prayed that on the strength of whatever pious credit they had, Krishna might win Rukmini's hand. When the time came for Srimati Rukmini Devi to visit the temple of Sri Ambika, she proceeded there surrounded by many guards. After bowing down to the deity, Rukmini prayed to be allowed to have Sri Krishna as her husband. Then she took the hand of a girlfriend and left the Ambika temple. Seeing her inexpressible beauty, the great heroes present dropped their weapons and fell to the ground unconscious. Rukmini walked with deliberate steps until she noticed Krishna. Then, as everyone looked on, Sri Krishna took Rukmini onto his chariot. Like a lion claiming his rightful share from a band of jackals, he drove back all the opposing kings and slowly made his exit, followed by his associates. Jarasandha and the other kings, unable to bear their defeat and dishonor, loudly condemned themselves, declaring that this defamation was like a petty animal's stealing away what rightfully belongs to the lion. So, you know, just by seeing this, I mean, Lord Krishna, we see how in the previous couple of texts, how strong he was and how amazing, you know, that he was able to, you know, he could just go in there and kill Kamsa 1, 2, 3. It's just beyond our understanding the way he can do it. And also, and now here, it looks a little different to me. Now, maybe you guys, you ladies can add to this, but it's just that Krishna, he gets what he wants. And he had, I'm not sure if this princess was one of the 16,100 and something wives in Mathura that Krishna married, and he married them all simultaneously. And, you know, with his family appearing and everything, in each one of those, not castles, what would I say, in palaces. In each one of those palaces, Krishna appears, and he's acting out a pastime with each and every queen. He has like 16,000 blah, blah, blah wives, and his family, and no one can do this but Krishna. Now, I think this is part of it. I could be wrong, but yeah, because he keeps getting all of these wives here. Okay, and it's not just one. So I'm getting the feeling that these are some of the main wives from those 16,000 palaces where he went. I just think that's amazing. So that's the first. I wanted to just take a quick look down in here because there might be something I might want to add. Well, it just says here that to secure the bride for Shishupal, the kings who envied Krishna and Balaram came to the following decision among themselves. If Krishna comes here with Balaram and the other Yadus to steal the bride, we shall band together and fight him. So that's what's going on in here when we say that that Krishna had to subdue all of these low-class kings, if you will. Okay, and let me see what else. No, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, it just goes into more details about, you know, preparations for the bride, and like Rukmini, it just gave a little description here. Rukmini appeared as enchanting as the Lord's illusory potency, who enchants even the sober and grave. Thus the kings gazed upon her virgin beauty, her shapely waist, and her lovely face adorned with earrings. Her hips were graced with a jewel-studded belt, her breasts were just budding, and her eyes seemed apprehensive of her encroaching locks of hair. She smiled sweetly, her jasmine bud teeth reflecting the glow of her bimba red lips. As she walked with the motions of a royal swan, the effulgence of her tinkling ankle bells beautified her feet. Seeing her, the assembled heroes were totally bewildered. Lust tore at their hearts. Indeed, when the kings saw her broad smile and shy glance, they became stupefied, dropped their weapons, and fell unconscious to the ground from their elephants, chariots, and horses. On the pretext of the procession, Rukmini displayed her beauty for Krishna alone. Slowly she advanced, the two moving lotus whirls of her feet, awaiting the arrival of the Supreme Lord. With the fingernails of her left hand, she pushed some strands of hair away from her face and shyly looked from the corners of her eyes at the kings standing before her. At that moment, she saw Krishna. Then, while his enemies looked on, the Lord seized the princess, who was eager to mount his chariot. Lifting the princess onto his chariot, whose flag bore the emblem of Garuda, Lord Madhava drove back the circle of kings. With Balaram in the lead, he slowly exited like a lion removing his prey from the midst of jackals. The kings inimical to the Lord, headed by Jarasandha, could not tolerate this humiliating defeat. They exclaimed, "Oh, damn us! Though we are mighty archers, mere cowherds have stolen our honor, just as puny animals might steal the honor of lions." So that's in much more detail at that point. So, again, these were, I guess, all these stories were told, if I'm not mistaken, by Uddhava to Vidura. If I'm not mistaken, I hopefully got it in the right order. And so this was to evoke, this is all stimulations of ecstatic love for Krishna, okay, all of these pastimes. And so that's all I have for the third text. All right, so for the fourth one, we have Kakudmino Vidanas Naso Damitva Sayamvare Nagnajitim Uvaha Tadbad Namanan Api Gridyato Gyanan Jagne Kishata Shastra Brita Svash Shastri Ha. Excuse me. By subduing 7 bulls whose noses were not pierced, the Lord achieved the hand of Princess Nagnajiti in the open competition to select her bridegroom. Although the Lord was victorious, his competitors asked the hand of the princess, and thus there was a fight. Well equipped with weapons, the Lord killed or wounded all of them, but he was not hurt himself. So let me look that up, because this also is, it's not a really long verse, or let's say story, but let me just pull it up. So it's got Krishna marries 5 princesses. So I'm gathering here, this is all, in the city of Dwarka. Oh boy, hold on, it's not moving. This is the problem I had the last time I was trying to read about these verses. Let me try it again. This is all coming from this 10th canto. Oh boy. It's not moving. Hold on. I'm going to have to try to get in there again.
Yes,
right,
Mataji, maybe, you got it?
I got it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sometimes it takes a little time to pull it up.
Yeah, it is like that for all of us.
Okay, this is it. All right. Okay. In the king, this is again from the 10th canto, verse 58. Okay, so I'm going into the introduction and reading a part of the introduction. It says, in the kingdom of Ayodhya lived a devout king named Nagnajit. He had an extraordinarily beautiful, marriageable daughter named Satya, or Nagnajiti. Excuse me. The girl's relatives had laid down the stipulation that any man who could subdue a certain group of 7 ferocious bulls would win her hand. When Krishna heard about this princess, he went to Ayodhya with a large contingent of soldiers. King Nagnajit greeted him hospitably and joyfully worshipped him with various offerings. When Satya saw Krishna, she immediately desired him as her husband, and King Nagnajit, understanding his daughter's intentions, informed Lord Krishna of his own wish that the Lord and his daughter be married. The king affectionately told the Lord, "You alone would be a suitable husband for my daughter, and if you subdue the 7 bulls, you may certainly marry her." Lord Krishna then manifested himself in 7 separate forms and subdued the 7 bulls. King Nagnajit duly presented his daughter to the Lord, together with a dowry of abundant gifts, and the Lord took Satya onto his chariot for the journey back to Dwarka. Just then the rival kings, who had been defeated by the bulls, tried to attack Lord Krishna, but Arjuna easily beat them back, and Krishna proceeded with Nagnajiti to Dwarka. Subsequently, Sri Krishna married Lakshmana after abducting her from her Svayamvara ceremony, and he also married Bhadra, the royal sister of Santardhan. Wow. And, as I'm just thinking as we're going along, Krishna always ends up victorious. He always, it doesn't matter who or what it is, and if it were 2,000 bulls, he would have probably put, made himself into 2,000 different forms of Krishna to fight each one of those bulls and subdue, to fight them. And he always wins, and he wins the most chaste, the most beautiful, the most prized of the women, all in every case. And to me, it's just showing. What else? Just that he can do. He always gets what he wants. What else can I say? And he gets the best. And I'm just trying to go down a little bit here. I hope I'm not boring anybody. Okay, I'm just looking at the very bottom of this, and you know what? I'm going to stop here because this will go on and on and on. This story is very, it gets very long. So he and that's it. And I was always thinking of some of the fairy tales as I'm reading this, that he swoops the bride up and he carries her away, and the others are all just in shame, and some of them are in anger that they couldn't get the prize. And this was very similar to the Cinderella story, and I wonder if that also came from the Vedas, Okay, so that was text 4. And then in text 5, just translation. Just to please his dear wife, the Lord brought back the Parijata tree from heaven, just as an ordinary husband would do. But Indra, the king of heaven, induced by his wives, henpecked as he was, ran after the Lord with full force to fight him. Purport. The Lord once went to the heavenly planet to present an earring to Aditi, the mother of the demigods, and his wife Satyabhama also went with him. There is a special flowering tree called the Parijata, which grows only in the heavenly planets. And Satyabhama wanted this tree. Just to please his wife like an ordinary husband, the Lord brought back the tree, and this enraged Vajri, or the controller of the thunderbolt. Indra's wives inspired him to run after the Lord to fight. And Indra, because he was a henpecked husband and also a fool, listened to them and dared to fight with Krishna. He was a fool on this occasion because he forgot that everything belongs to the Lord. There was no fault on the part of the Lord, even though he took away the tree from the heavenly kingdom. But because Indra was henpecked, dominated by his beautiful wives like Shachi, he became a fool, just as all persons who are dominated by their wives are generally foolish. Indra thought that Krishna was a henpecked husband who only by the will of his wife Satyabhama took away the property of heaven, and therefore he thought that Krishna could be punished. He forgot that the Lord is the proprietor of everything and cannot be henpecked. The Lord is fully independent, and by his will only, he can have hundreds and thousands of wives like Satyabhama. He was not therefore attached to Satyabhama because she was a beautiful wife, but he was pleased with her devotional service and thus wanted to reciprocate the unalloyed devotion of his devotee. I think this is interesting here because in this case, here we have Indra, who is a demigod, and Indra even forgets, that everything belongs to the Lord. So we see that he is a creature of the material world because he is allowing his wives to run him basically and tell him what to do. Okay. And so they, encouraged him to run after Krishna, to fight. And this was very foolish. Obviously, on one level, he knew who Krishna was, but here he forgot. And I think this could be an example of how we as jivas could become at times when we can lose sight because we are contaminated by the material world. We can lose sight and forget who Krishna really is in our lives. And this was just an example for me, and how people were getting enraged that he took the tree from the heavenly planets, you know, and because it only grows there. And Satyabhama, if I'm not mistaken, was another one of the 16,000, whatever, 100 and something wives that Krishna has. And he, you know, it said in here, he wasn't attracted. Krishna can have hundreds and thousands of wives like Satyabhama, but he was not attached to her because she was beautiful, but rather he was pleased with her devotional service, okay, and wanted to reciprocate the devotion, the unalloyed devotion of his devotee. So he wanted to please her. So this was not done, you know, in a material way. You know how they say, oh, just like a husband, he takes the wife shopping. In this case, he took Satyabhama, and she wanted the tree. So he, you know, he took her back, the tree, et cetera, et cetera. This is totally, this is spiritual. When Krishna, he gets these beautiful wives, it's not that they're having, you know, sexual relations or anything like that, because that's not what's going on here. But I, in fact, was very surprised in this instance that the demigod Indra would even dare to entertain the thought that, you know, that Krishna couldn't have that tree. You know, the tree was everything belongs to Krishna, and we have to realize that he can do whatever he wants. And then again, I thought, well, you know what? Indra is still in the material world. He's not yet in the spiritual sky. And therefore, I think it's a lesson for us to be careful, because we can lose sight of the goal, and we can forget about Krishna just because we are contaminated in this material world, and we can become foolish, and all of a sudden, oh, where's Krishna? Suddenly is not in the picture. Okay, and Krishna, certainly with all these 16,100 and something wives, he can't be henpecked, but Indra can. So we see here the reality that even the demigods are not as powerful as Krishna, and they are in the material world with us. They may not be on our planet. They may be in heavenly planets, but still they are demigods. They're not God himself. And so that's what I got on the second one, on this third text. And I wanted to just take a quick look in the 10th canto here. I'm going to try to push it to the next page if I can. And if not, I'm going to call it a day and leave it open for everyone else to discuss, because sometimes we don't have enough time to discuss. It's not moving at the moment. I'm sorry. There it goes. Now, in this last one, let's see if it gives some examples of the stupidity of Indra, his forgetfulness, etc. you know what? I'm going to leave it at this because this is very, very long. And I was looking at it before, and I thought, not so. It's really not so interesting. I mean, I think you got the gist of this just from what I said. So I'm going to leave it open for discussion. Okay? Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Govardhana Lila Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, thank you for your beautiful class. It's always so nice to hear about Krishna's pastimes. And so there is an interesting story which my spiritual master had discussed when we went for yatra in Dwarka.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that this is not discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is discussed in with, I believe, Lalita Madhava or Vidagdha Madhava, one of those books which are written by Rupa Goswami. So there it is described that all of the gopis, after Krishna left, they couldn't sustain their lives. So like all of them, like in some way or other, they were just taken away. So after that, what happens is they all become, I'm sorry for the noise in the background. So what happens is, like, all of them, like, again are under the care of different, they're born as princesses of different kings, all of the gopis. And then they all marry Krishna again. So all of these 16,108 queens whom he has in Dwarka are actually gopis from Vrindavan.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and Jarasandha and Kalyavana are actually demons. You were asking if they were demons, right? So all of them are demons. Yeah.
They were kings, but they were demons.
Yeah, they were kings and demons. Yes.
Okay. 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 Well, thank you, Mataji. Isn't this, I don't know, I thought it was real interesting, this story about Indra, that he could be such an idiot, you know, in the face of Lord Krishna. That kind of blew me away. I can't, in other words, I can't picture certain demigods, like, I can't picture Lord Brahma doing something like this. I mean, if it happens, I haven't yet read about it, let's put it that way. So is there any other comments tonight? Additions, corrections?
Oh, Mataji, this is Jacqueline. I was just wondering, you know, when we deal with these kinds of pastimes, would that be discouraging for a lay visitor to the temple, or a person that is trying to practice being focused on raising their consciousness? Because it sounds like the people in ISKCON, we're supposed to be monks and just totally focused on our chanting and our spiritual activity. But then when they say that, well, Krishna had these pastimes with all of the ladies, and so it because I know someone that had to study this material in order to be a Mason. So he says, well, Krishna was something else. But yeah, of course they see it in the material. But even if there's no physical contact, it still poses a contradiction of, you know, what we're supposed to be living. And why is it important anyway? Why is the discussion of this important?
Well, from what I can see, you know, we're talking about something, and I had said this in the beginning, this is not just, this is for, it is pretty advanced. I do think at times, I've heard lectures about such topics, okay, that are in the Bhagavatam and in the Chaitanya, Charitamrita, etc. But on a typical Sunday feast, as you mentioned, we might not get into all these details on a typical Sunday feast. I think the focus is basically coming to become focused on Krishna, you know, and like you said, practicing our japa, etc.
Because if this was at a Sunday feast, they say, "Wow, I like this lifestyle." Yeah,
oh,
it's even
sure,
better than my former lifestyle.
well, you know, Krishna can do whatever he wants to do, and this is not in the. If we're looking at this with material eyes, it's going to look like, you know, he's a polygamist, you know,
and a womanizer.
And a womanizer, but it's not at all like that. When I first saw it, my eyes were looking at it that way too. But this is on a very high platform. It's all spiritual, and just the fact that Krishna could be simultaneously in 16,108 palaces at the same time, marrying all of these different queens. This is unique. It's not something that just anybody could do, okay? And so this is coming from the spiritual world. It's not something that we can understand with material eyes very simply. But I think in advancement of Krishna consciousness, it starts to make more sense. And I can understand it now and overlook all these other mundane things that we see. But you're right. If you show this to the average person just walking in, they might think that. Definitely. Yeah, they might think that way. So some topics, it seems, are not discussed unless, let's say you go to a morning program and you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, then these are, all the details of these pastimes are discussed. Now, I'm not saying they're never discussed at a Sunday feast. I have also heard, it just depends, like if we have certain feasts for like Lord Ram or the appearance day, certain appearance days of like Haridas Thakur, et cetera, whatever those pastimes are of those great acharyas and saints, they're going to be they'll be discussed also. But, and I think it would take whoever is giving the class to clarify that this is not, Krishna's not an ordinary husband, first of all. How an ordinary husband could not slay all of these kings and demons and get, you know, and subdue all of these people. This is not something an ordinary man can do. You know, subduing 7 bulls, things like that. It is, but this is very true. These stories are true, but they're coming from the spiritual world. And they're really to show us the greatness of Krishna, who Krishna is. You know, he enacts these or performs these pastimes from the spiritual world into the material world to show us who he is. That not just anybody could do these things. I don't know if I'm being very convincing, but it's true. Does that make sense, Mataji?
It always makes sense to me, but I'm saying when you have these
Right.
people on the outside, because there's even people at the temple that, you know, they may come because they say, well, I may find a nice Prabhu or a nice Mataji or whatever.
Oh,
but
sure.
it just, so basically, these women were selected because they were on the highest level of spirituality, and that's what made them very attractive. And so the blessing was for them to be in spiritual bliss with Krishna because of their level of consciousness. Would that be a good analogy?
I think that sounds correct. Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, sometimes I get this mixed up. Lila Mandri can correct me. They were coming from, was it Mathura? No, to Dvaraka. These are pastimes outside of Vrindavan, and they come, I think, with Krishna from the spiritual world to enact these pastimes. The reason I'm saying this is because when Krishna appears to perform his pastimes, he takes his entire entourage with him. All of his paraphernalia from the spiritual world goes with him. He takes all his associates and everything. So this is way on a very high platform. And yes, the average person, that's why some topics are not discussed right away with a neophyte, or some, not just neophyte, but a newcomer is rather the word I'm looking for. Because it might take a lot to convince them on this type of a subject, okay? Because like henpecked husbands and blah, 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 sometimes I also question some of the wording in these books, but don't forget they were written a long time ago. And henpecked as he was, yeah, that was right in the translation, written very long time ago. So that would be my answer to that. Lila Mandri, is there something I'm missing here, or whoever else is on the class?
Yes, Mataji, like if we read the 10th canto, Prabhupada gives very elaborate descriptions of Jacqueline Mataji's question. So especially the chapter about the rasa dance, the Prabhupada gives a huge description about the dealings between, he explains the dealings between Krishna and the gopis, and then he describes that try to follow the instructions of, this is given in the Bhagavad Gita, that try to follow the instructions of Krishna. You can dance with 16,108 gopis if you can lift the Govardhana hill. So Krishna shows his divinity in so many ways, by killing demons from his very birth and lifting the Govardhana hill with his left pinky. So Prabhupada writes there that, just don't try to imitate Krishna, just try to follow his instructions and purify your life. Because if you want to do like how Krishna did with the gopis, then you have to be in that platform where you can lift Govardhana hill with your pinky.
Mm-hmm. So my explanation was right, that just not anybody could do this. It has to be God.
But you see, we are spending energy on this, and what I found, and regardless of the scriptures, whether they're Vedic or Christian, people pick and choose. It's called selective listening. And there's something in Christianity where it says the woman came from the man's rib, or that you should be in submission, but it's not that way, like you're the slave and you're subordinate, but they use the scriptures and they interpret them whatever way they want. So this whole with the gopis and all of that would be very attractive for some people that were on the platform of thinking, oh, okay, it's not a bad thing, and they, regardless of how we explain it, that would be embedded in their minds, that I want to be like Krishna because then I can actually do this, and the other men that aren't in the movement can't do this. And,
but if their consciousness is there, that's not very good, because we've always been told you never try to imitate what Krishna does, or not just Krishna, but even the great saints who can do certain things that we can't do. We should never try to imitate it, ever. But, people just extract what they want to because of a poor level of understanding or a lower level of consciousness. And, it's not a crime. I think as some people advance, I used to think crazy things when I first came. And as time has gone on, a lot of my questions got answered when I didn't even ask the questions. They just were there. You know, I'd be listening to a lecture and suddenly the bell, you know, the light would go off and I'd say, oh, that's why. That's why it's like this. So, you know, people who want to do what they want to do are going to extract, you know, you get a polygamist from the, I don't know, the not the Amish, what's the other ones, the Mormons. Let's say you got a Mormon or coming in, you know, and he's had several wives and he sees that and it's, wow, this is condoned. He's looking at it completely from his own vantage point. He's taking out of it what he wants, because what he wants to do is enjoy sense gratification. So we can, if we want to enjoy our senses, we can find all kinds of ways to twist what the scripture actually says. And, you know, it's not just done in the Vedic scriptures. You're right, it's done in the Christian, you know, the Bible has been rewritten so many times and has been, you know, it's been contaminated, you know, by mundane minds. So we have to be careful when we're reading the Bible too.
Well, you know, there's people that say there's no way that you can contaminate the Bible because it was written and edited and it's holy and it's protected. But, you know, they have taken like 400 books out of the Bible. And I mean, yes. So I don't know if you would call that being protected. Well, the bottom line is, yeah, the past times when we discuss that, regardless of the level of spirituality, there are still, I would personally say that I enjoy the stories. If he's doing something miraculous, like making a whole village float and go visit one of the spiritual planets, that would be very interesting. The relationship type things, they may not be so important to me, but there are certain stories like, and certain, I guess you would say, chapters in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam that I enjoy, like the creation aspect of it, because believe it or not, a lot of this can be related to today. A lot of these superhero movies are quite deep. You know, the Men in Black, the Terminators, the Affinities, Avengers, they talk about dimensions and spiritual planets. And see, people will look at those movies for entertainment, but The Matrix, it was talking about the illusion. So it's around us, but we just don't pay attention, you know. So it's not just in the books, but it's around us, but we're getting subliminal messaging all the time, but we choose not to absorb it because simplicity is more important or easier to absorb. Because I have relatives, they know what I do. Yeah.
In this age of Kali, right, where people have very poor memories like me. I forget names, I forget dates, I forget all kinds of things. And in Kali, you know, our memories run short, and our consciousness is not very high. You know, there are those whose consciousness is, but those are far and few between. But I just wanted to say one last thing, is that what's important here, and my Guru Maharaj always says it, always extract the essence of what they're saying, not word for word. Extract the essence, and you won't, you know, you will understand that the transcendental nature of what's being said, you know, the spiritual nature of what's being said. And what else did he tell me? Well, just also, Bhagavad Gita is as it is. It has not been tampered with. It is told by Krishna himself. So that's a big deal right there.
Well, you know, in the Bible, there's scriptures in red that it's supposed to be directly from God. That's what they say. So what, you know, there's a lot of books out there, but I've been very blessed to have gotten to the ISKCON temple. The temple itself is an environment and it's a building, but I'm so pleased to have been led to get some other information, because I was just always seeking as a child, investigating. I used to play hooky from school, meaning you know, you would know what it means as a child growing up in America. But I would go to other churches seeking the truth. So it wasn't like I was not going to my church or to my Sunday school doing naughty things. I would be going to seek the truth or look at other environments. So I would do that really young, because like those days that my mom or dad didn't go to church with us, those would be the days I would be trying to examine and differentiate what is real or what's not real. And that was just my natural propensity, or just who I was. You know, I used to fall asleep on my knees when I was 3 praying. So, but a lot of this is very interesting. Even if you're not spiritual, it's very intellectual. You know, those readings, the whole thing, it is, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, different people come for different reasons. So there's, you know, there's a little something for everyone in the Vedas at all different levels of advancement, or, you know, you could be a plain beginner all the way to the top, you know, so there's different levels of advancement, and people can find something for them that's for them in every single, in the Vedas themselves. So.
Yes. Yes. Well, I am all done with questions, and perhaps Lila Manjari, she is.
Any other questions or?
That's it from my side, Mataji. Thank you, Govardhana Lila Mataji.
Well, thank you. I'm just glad I had an opportunity to serve a little bit today and gain a little understanding myself. So thank you all for joining. I guess I'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.